The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Alaric, a 43-year-old software engineer in Seattle, stared out the window of our Queen Anne home, a knot tightening in my stomach. Something was off with Bronte, my wife of 15 years. It wasn't a sudden change, but a slow, insidious drift. Late nights at the office, hushed phone calls, a coolness in her eyes that used to sparkle with warmth when she looked at me. We'd met at a coffee shop near the University of Washington campus. I was a struggling grad student, fueled by caffeine and dreams of coding the next big thing. Bronte, with her fiery red hair and infectious laugh, was a ray of sunshine in my otherwise monochrome world. She was studying literature, a world away from my binary existence, yet we connected instantly. We built a life together, a comfortable, predictable life. Maybe that was the problem. The first red flag was the phone. Bronte had always been open with her devices, leaving them unlocked, sharing photos, and even letting me use her tablet to browse recipes when mine was charging. But lately, her phone was glued to her hand, screen down when I entered the room and password protected. I tried to brush it off as work-related, but the feeling lingered, a persistent itch I couldn't scratch. Then came the late nights. Bronte worked as a marketing manager for a local advertising agency. Long hours were part of the job, but lately they'd become excessive. "Big campaign," she'd say, her voice tired, her eyes avoiding mine. I'd offer to make dinner, but she'd insist on grabbing something on the way home. I started waiting up for her, falling asleep on the couch, only to wake up to her slipping into bed in the early hours, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. The final straw was the weekend getaway. Bronte announced she needed a wellness retreat to de-stress. I suggested we go together, a romantic weekend at a cozy cabin in the mountains. She declined, saying she needed alone time to recharge. I was hurt, but I tried to be understanding. I even offered to book the retreat for her, but she insisted on handling it herself. "It's all taken care of," she said, a little too quickly. That's when I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I snooped. I knew it was wrong, a violation of trust, but the gnawing feeling in my gut wouldn't let me rest. While Bronte was recharging at her wellness retreat, I waited until she left for work, telling her I had an early meeting. Once she was gone, I went straight for her laptop. It was password protected, of course. I tried a few obvious ones: our anniversary, her birthday, our dog's name, but nothing worked. Then on a whim, I typed in Alistair. The laptop unlocked. My heart pounded in my chest. Alistair. Who was Alistair? The answer was in her email. A series of messages spanning months, filled with declarations of love, intimate details, and plans for secret rendezvous. Alistair was a colleague, a senior executive at her firm. The wellness retreat was a romantic getaway to a secluded resort in the San Juan Islands. The perfume I smelled on her was his. The late nights were spent in his arms, the world tilted on its axis. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, the woman I built my life with, was betraying me in the most profound way imaginable. I felt a wave of nausea, followed by a burning rage. I wanted to scream, to smash things, to confront her immediately. But I knew I needed to be strategic. I needed proof, not just for myself, but for the inevitable divorce proceedings. I copied all the emails, downloaded the photos they had exchanged, pictures of them kissing, holding hands, looking at each other with the same love I thought she reserved for me. I felt like I was intruding on a private world, a world that should have been mine but wasn't. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking, my mind reeling. I decided not to confront Bronte right away. I needed to gather my thoughts to plan my next move. I called my best friend Caius, a divorce lawyer. He listened patiently as I recounted my discovery, his voice grim with each revelation. "Document everything, Alaric," he advised. "Get a private investigator. You need to protect yourself." I followed his advice. I hired a private investigator named Mallory, a no-nonsense woman with a sharp eye and a discreet demeanor. She confirmed my suspicions, providing me with photos and videos of Bronte and Alistair together, further solidifying my case. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. Bronte returned from her retreat looking refreshed and relaxed, but her eyes held a hint of guilt. She asked me about my meeting, and I lied, telling her it went well. I made dinner, we watched a movie on Netflix, and she even initiated intimacy, which I endured with a mixture of revulsion and sadness. I felt like I was living a double life, one where I was the loving husband and another where I was the betrayed victim plotting my revenge. The day I confronted Bronte was a Tuesday. I waited until she came home from work, a bottle of wine in hand, ready to unwind. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice calm but firm. She looked at me, a flicker of apprehension in her eyes. "What is it, Alaric?" I didn't mince words. "I know about Alistair." Her face drained of color. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. I pulled out her laptop and opened it to the email exchange. "This is what I'm talking about," I said, my voice rising. "Your little wellness retreat, your late nights at the office, your secret rendezvous. I know everything, Bronte." She burst into tears, a performance I wasn't buying. "Alaric, I can explain," she sobbed. "Explain what?" "Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could lie to my face for months. It just happened," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, it just happened," I repeated, incredulous. "You planned a romantic getaway with him, you exchanged love letters, you slept with him. How is that just happening?" She tried to touch me, but I recoiled. "Don't," I said, my voice cold. "Don't touch me. I don't even know who you are anymore." I presented her with the divorce papers which Caius had prepared. She stared at them, her eyes wide with shock. "You're divorcing me?" "Yes, Bronte, I'm divorcing you," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "I'm divorcing you for adultery, and I'm taking you for everything you've got." She begged me to reconsider, to give her another chance. She promised to end things with Alistair, to go to therapy, to do whatever it took to win me back. But I was done. The trust was broken, the love was gone. All that was left was bitterness and resentment. The divorce was messy, as expected. Bronte fought me every step of the way, claiming I was being unreasonable, that I was overreacting. She even tried to gaslight me, suggesting that I was somehow responsible for her infidelity, that I wasn't attentive enough, that I didn't appreciate her enough. But I had the evidence, thanks to Mallory. The emails, the photos, the videos, they all painted a clear picture of Bronte's betrayal. The judge ruled in my favor, granting me a generous settlement and full custody of our dog, a golden retriever named Watson, who had always been my loyal companion. Bronte moved out of our house, taking only her clothes and a few personal belongings. I watched her go, a strange mix of anger and sadness swirling inside me. I had lost the woman I loved, but I had also gained my freedom. But the story doesn't end there. A few weeks after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call from Alistair's wife, a woman named Isolde. She had discovered the affair and was furious. She had also learned that Alistair had been using company funds to pay for his romantic getaways with Bronte. Isolde and I met for coffee. She was a sharp, intelligent woman, and we quickly bonded over our shared experience of betrayal. We decided to join forces, to expose Bronte and Alistair's deceit to the world. We leaked the emails and photos to the local media, and the story quickly went viral. Bronte and Alistair were publicly shamed, their reputations tarnished. Alistair was fired from his job, and Bronte's career was in ruins. I felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing that they were finally facing the consequences of their actions. But the victory was bittersweet. I had lost so much in the process: my marriage, my trust, my sense of security. I decided to leave Seattle, to start fresh somewhere new. I sold our house and moved to Portland, a city known for its vibrant art scene and progressive culture. I bought a small condo with a view of the Willamette River and devoted myself to my work and my hobbies. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time. I joined a hiking club and explored the beautiful trails of the Pacific Northwest. I even started dating again, cautiously dipping my toes back into the dating pool. It wasn't easy. Scars of Bronte's betrayal ran deep, and I struggled to trust women. But I was determined to move on, to heal, to find happiness again. One evening, I was at an art gallery opening when I met a woman named Beatrix. She was a sculptor with a warm smile and kind eyes. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her honesty and her passion for art. We started dating slowly, cautiously. I was honest with her about my past, about the pain and the betrayal I had experienced. She listened patiently, without judgment, and offered me her support. Over time, I began to trust her, to open myself up to the possibility of love again. Beatrix helped me to heal, to see that not all women are like Bronte, that there is still good in the world. 1 year later, Beatrix and I were married in a small ceremony overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It was a simple, intimate affair, surrounded by our closest friends and family. As I looked into Beatrix's eyes, I knew that I had finally found my happy ending. Bronte's betrayal had been a painful chapter in my life, but it had also taught me valuable lessons about love, trust, and forgiveness. I had emerged from the ashes stronger, wiser, and more resilient, and I was finally ready to embrace the future with Beatrix by my side. Several years passed. I received an unexpected email from Bronte. She was living in a small town in Oregon, working as a waitress. She was alone, broke, and miserable. Alistair had left her for a younger woman, and she had no one to turn to. She begged me for forgiveness, for a second chance. She said she realized what she had lost, that she regretted her actions every day. I thought about it long and hard. Part of me wanted to gloat, to revel in her misery, but another part of me felt a pang of compassion. I knew what it was like to be betrayed, to be abandoned, to be alone. I wrote her back, not offering forgiveness but offering understanding. I told her that I hoped she could find peace, that she could learn from her mistakes, and that she could rebuild her life. I didn't hear from her again, but I knew that I had done the right thing. I had chosen compassion over revenge, forgiveness over bitterness, and in doing so, I had finally closed the door on the past and embraced the future, with Beatrix by my side. My life now is filled with love, laughter, and creativity. I am grateful for every day, for every moment, for every person who has helped me along the way. And I know that even though the scars of betrayal may never fully disappear, they have made me who I am today, a stronger, more compassionate, and more resilient man. I continued to paint, finding solace and joy in expressing myself through art. Beatrix and I traveled the world, exploring new cultures and creating lasting memories. We adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy terrier mix named Pixel, who quickly became a beloved member of our family. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. I had learned to appreciate the simple things, to cherish the moments of joy, and to forgive the imperfections of others. And I knew that as long as I had Beatrix by my side, I could face any challenge that came my way. The rain outside had stopped, and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds. A rainbow arched across the sky, a symbol of hope and renewal. I smiled, took a deep breath, and turned away from the window, ready to start a new day. A day filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a brighter future. One evening, while looking through some old photos, I came across a picture of Bronte and me, taken during our honeymoon in Italy. We were young, happy, and full of dreams. I felt a pang of sadness, remembering the good times we had shared before the betrayal and the heartbreak. I realized that I couldn't erase the past, but I could choose how I remembered it. I decided to focus on the positive memories, to remember the love and the laughter, and to let go of the anger and the resentment. I took the photo and placed it in a box with other mementos from my past. It was a way of acknowledging the role Bronte had played in my life, without allowing her to define my future. I closed the box and put it away, feeling a sense of closure and peace. I had finally forgiven Bronte, not for her sake, but for my own. I had released the last vestiges of bitterness and resentment, and I was free to move on, to embrace the present, and to look forward to the future with Beatrix by my side. And so my story comes to an end. It's a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and revenge, but it's also a story of healing, forgiveness, and the power of love to overcome even the darkest of times. I hope that my experience can serve as a reminder that even when life throws its worst at you, you can always find a way to rise above it, to find happiness again, and to create a brighter future for yourself. The sun set, casting a warm glow over the city. I sat on my balcony, watching the lights twinkle on the Willamette River. Beatrix came out and wrapped her arms around me, her head resting on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Just how lucky I am," I said, squeezing her hand. "I have you, Pixel, my art, my friends, my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything." She smiled and kissed me softly on the cheek. "Me neither," she said, "me neither." And in that moment I knew that I had truly found my happy ending. The past was behind me and the future was bright. I was finally at peace, content, and grateful for all that I had. And I knew that no matter what challenges life might bring, I could face them with courage, resilience, and the unwavering love of my amazing wife, Beatrix. The stars emerged in the night sky, twinkling like diamonds. I looked up at them, feeling a sense of awe and wonder. The universe was vast and mysterious, and life was full of surprises, but I was ready for whatever it might bring. I had learned from my mistakes, I had grown from my experiences, and I had found love again. And that was all that mattered. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the fresh night air. I smiled, feeling a sense of gratitude and contentment. Life was good, and I was ready to live it to the fullest, with Beatrix by my side every step of the way. And as I stood there on my balcony under the starry sky, I knew that I was finally home, not just in a physical sense, but in a spiritual sense. I had found my place in the world, my purpose in life, and my soulmate in Beatrix. And that was the greatest gift of all, the end.